Hello there. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Knicks. The 2022-2023 season is officially underway. The regular season has begun. And tonight we're talking Knicks, or this afternoon, I should say we're talking Knicks, because I'm recording this right before I go to work here on Thursday, October 20th. Yeah, we're back. And I hope you guys, I hope you're back with me. Whichever Knicks followers or listeners that I have. Don't have many listeners to begin with, or any. But to two of you, thank you for stopping by. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. And if you are new here, if you're just stopping by because you wanted to see some Knicks, this is the spot to go. Welcome to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA now too. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. We are doing the Yankees for every playoff game, though, during this stretch they're in. But right now, we're talking Knicks. And the Knicks are back. They unfortunately lost last night. The Knicks fall to Memphis in the season opener, as you can see by the title of this episode. So we're going to talk about it. And we're not going to waste time. If you are new here, though, just really quickly, you know where to find me. As you can see on the screen if you're watching. But if you're listening, well, you've already found me. But I'm on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube if you want to watch the show. And I'm also on social media. I'm on Twitter at BD4Pod, Instagram at RobJCarbone, and Facebook BD4. And if you want to find my podcast, my social media, and all that stuff, you can find that all on one website, BD4blog.com, where I write a blog on the Yankees, Knicks, and some MMA as well. Don't do it as often as I do the podcast here, but it's a blog that I like to get to at least a few times a month. So the Knicks lost last night. They fell to the Memphis Grizzlies in their opener, by a score of 115-112. It was an overtime game. And it was, the Knicks kind of got off to a slow start out the gate. But they kept it competitive. So they were in it. The second quarter came, though, and the defense kind of slipped. The Knicks were eventually finding themselves down by 19 points. And I think by the end of the first half, they were down 15 points. However, Julius, Randle, Cam Reddish, Isaiah Hartenstein helped them storm back. Randle led the starters with a big game. Cam Reddish led the bench. Hartenstein right beside him. But it was Cam with the big shot. He sent the Knicks to OT. The Knicks go to OT, but they cannot hang on. And they eventually lose by a possession. Again, 115-112. So you can put that game in the rafters, though. Down 15 at half, only lost by 3. But first off, I was watching this thing on my Surface Pro in bed at like 3 a.m. on DVR. So I had work until 6:30 p.m. last night. Then I had the Yankee game to watch at 7:30. That went until 11 or so. So I had to record that podcast on the Yankees game that we just did in 4:20, and then after that I had to watch this Knicks game in the middle of the night, and then I had class in the AM. So, but man, it didn't stop me from yelling. It didn't stop me from screaming my head off at 3:30 in the morning like a madman. I mean, I can only imagine how psychotic I looked in bed screaming. But it felt like a playoff game, man. It did. National TV. I mean, wow. It was intense. And let's talk about it because I got a lot of things I want to say. Hopefully we can get through this episode and come out of it optimistic about the season. And speaking of optimism, I want to start with my guy who I actually predicted a strong 15-8 season from him this year. As crazy as that sounds, I did it because he's my guy, and I really hope that Cam Reddish continues to play the way he did last night. Cam Reddish with Quentin Grimes out, Cam showed up. And, in the preseason, that wasn't so much the case. But who cares? That means nothing. And Cam Reddish played last night. And Cam Reddish gets a bing bong ball to start the season already.
Bing bang.
When you show up, you get one. Cam Reddish scored 22 points, 5 rebounds, 3 steals, 1 block, shot 9 for 15 from the field, 3 for 6 from the 3-point line, and he made his only free throw. He looked great, man. And first off, his body language last night was telling. You could see that Cam wanted it from the get-go. The Grizzlies couldn't stop him, and he kept asking for it. He was aggressive right out the gate. Late first quarter, he comes in, very active, getting shots off, running the floor, and he was also active defensively. I loved seeing that, and I think that right there is a big teller if you want to see if he's able to keep this up. If he keeps putting in the effort he did last night on defense going forward. So I loved everything about his outing last night, except for the fact that I kind of wish they didn't shy away from him down the stretch there in overtime. He got just 2 shots off. RJ Barrett syndrome, right? They didn't feed him. You got to go with the hot hand there. You got to go with what you got. With who got you there. And Cam was hot. It was too much RJ Barrett down the stretch, who was off. It was too much Jalen Brunson down the stretch, who was 0 for 4 in OT. And even on the final shot of the night, the Knicks go with Evan Fournier for that 3-point shot over Cam. I understand that Fournier is the Knicks' best 3-point shooter. He's one of the best 3-point shooters in basketball. But the hot hand is real. Fournier was off. Oh, I wouldn't say he was off. Fournier was off. I would say he was off and on. He was hot and cold. But Cam did make 3 triples efficiently. So you got to go that route and feed him the rock, I thought. I really thought he should have got the ball there down the stretch, and who knows what the outcome could have been. But even if he didn't make the shot and got it, at least it's a confidence thing. It shows him that he's instilled faith. And hopefully this does earn him some goodwill with Tom Thibodeau. Tibbs is a big Grimes guy, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Grimes returns soon. Hopefully he does too. But this kid Cam Reddish, man, he's my guy for a reason. He's just got so much talent, and it's easy talent too. Like, this kid doesn't even look like he's working to get these buckets. It just reminds me of the way, now this is going to be a funny thing to compare him to, but like the way Michael Beasley scored with the Knicks, Cam can score that same way. He had the Euro step on display last night. He was putting the ball on the floor, big strides, 1-2 dribbles, he's at the rim, displaying that athleticism in the open court, shooting the jumper last night very well. I tell you, man, maybe a better comparison would be like, he gives me a lot of Paul George vibes. It's crazy. I'm not saying he is Paul George or he will become Paul George, but he's got that same size, that same athleticism, that skill set, the wingspan, that athletic 3-level scoring wing type of skill set that Paul George also has. I just hope he can reach his potential. But yeah, last night, Cam Reddish got his opportunity with that second unit, and he produced as well as he could have. So I just hope that he remains consistent, steady, because that's always been his big problem. Not even just the numbers that he's producing on the floor, but his motor. His motor is what's going to get him playing time. He's just got to keep that hunger, that will to keep grinding, and not just see this game as a win for himself. He's got to know that he's got to continue to do this shit. So, I thought he was good. You know who else I thought was good last night? And I'm also going to give him a bing bong ball amongst the starters. Julius Randle.
Bing bang.
I give credit when it's deserved, man. As much as I shit on Randle last season and said I did not want to see him back, I'll give him credit for tonight because he showed, or last night, because he showed up. 24 points last night from Julius, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. He did, that stuff last year, but this time it came efficiently. 9 for 16 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, and he was 4 for 5 at the line. It was an excellent game for Julius. He played mostly within the rhythm of the offense, and he was letting Jalen Brunson run the show at point guard. We didn't have to sit there and watch Randle take it up court all game. It's just unfortunate the way the game ended for Randle. The defense was a problem. He played hard, but the fouling got to him. He picked up 6 at the end there, fouls out, and just, the low IQ decisions. There was that loose ball foul at the end. That was very unfortunate. But without diving too deep into Randle, I take this as a win. You take this, you see that he played well, and you run with it. Because he was efficient. He moved the ball. 16 shot attempts for him were plenty, and they were efficient shot attempts. Baby steps, right? This was a good win of a game for Randle. And, there were some other guys who played well. A lot of Knicks played well, too. Jalen Brunson, I thought he played pretty well. I'm excited for this kid. He had 15 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists last night. Yeah, I think Jalen Brunson's going to be fun. I know he kind of gassed out in overtime, and he missed a huge 3 there. Looked like his legs weren't there. But he was connecting most of the night. If you watched him the majority of the night, he was hitting his shots. And I love his ability to get into the paint. I think that's something we need. We got that with Elfrid Payton, but he couldn't finish to save his life. Alec Burks wasn't exactly quick. Kemba Walker didn't have that same athleticism. Jalen Brunson can get to the rim and he can finish well. And I also love Brunson's ability to make the mid-range jump shot. Because the Knicks, let's be honest, they don't have a ton of that. RJ Barrett, not much of a mid-range shooter, at least yet. I'm hoping that he can develop one. Fournier's a three-point guy. Quickly, no, he'd rather the floater. Randle can hit the mid-range. That's his bread and butter, but he can be erratic with it. So you kind of need a mid-range guy. And I think Jalen Brunson's going to be a pretty consistent jump shooter. So I liked what I saw from him last night. He was distributing very well. Played well in the pick and roll. Kick-out game was working. So, I think we finally have some stability at the very least. If you could say anything, it's the Knicks have stability at point guard. They got a quarterback. This Hartenstein kid, I didn't see preseason. I only saw the first game, but he showed up in the first game. And last night, his first official game as a Knick was great. And also brutal at the same time. I love his offense. He brings a different dynamic that we don't normally have at the 5 position. Last night, he gave the Knicks 16 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists from a big man. That's impressive. Kind of gives you those Joakim Noah vibes from his Chicago days, of course. Good passer in the mid-post, stationary passing. I love his short little floater at the rim. Hopefully that can become a weapon for him. I'm not sure if that was part of his I'm not sure if that was part of his arsenal at in LA with the Clippers, that floater, but I'm interested to see if it is, if he continues to go with that shot. Playing hard on the glass, he was just grinding through the thick of it. And he played well offensively. the defense was pretty bad. You could see that he's not Taj Gibson out there. Definitely no Jericho Sims either, who didn't see action last night. But I was kind of hoping we did see some Sims minutes, especially at the end when Memphis started killing us on the glass. And Morant. I think Hartenstein struggled with the in-between game on those ball screens. Playing the drop a little. Reaching became a problem for him. Just his defensive positioning on pick and roll gave him a rough time. Making those reads gave him a bit of trouble. Am I covering ball on the perimeter with Morant out there, or am I protecting rim and making sure Steven Adams doesn't keep eating down there, which he did? So I think areas like that, I think we need to see a little more Jericho Sims. And they're going to have to figure out a way to mix him in there and possibly make this a 3 big man rotation. However, I don't want to critique Hartenstein because he gave the Knicks 16 and 8 last night and 4 assists. So all in all, for his Knicks debut, he did give them some good production offensively. Not much else from everybody else. Mitchell Robinson was in foul trouble. Quickly gave you nothing. He gave you an offer. He was horrendous last night, going east to west and chucking up ill-advised shots as he usually does, and you wonder why he's so inefficient. I don't know. He's got to show. IQ's got to show that he's improved with his shot selection, because it's a big concern of mine when it comes to him taking that next step. Is he just going to be? Is he just going to continue to be a guy who can score you 12 points a night, but shoot you below 40% from the field, or can he be a guy who can shoot efficiently enough to get more playing time? So he's got to be more efficient. Derrick Rose didn't bring much last night. Fournier again was so on offense, but my Christ, his defense immediately just giving me PTSD to last season, especially in that second quarter, because I think that was kind of the turning point of the game. There was so many breakdowns there from Fournier that led to Memphis ballooning that tight game into a big lead at halftime, and Fournier was a big culprit there. RJ Barrett was hideous last night. He was hideous. 11 points on 3 for 18 shooting, 0 for 6 from 3. That may have been the worst performance of his career, although I do recall an awful one last year from him too. But he did have 8 rebounds and 3 assists. But RJ's got to be better. I mean, he struggled with the usual things that give him trouble sometimes. Finishing in traffic has been an issue for him. He struggled there. Some awkward-looking layups, and the jump shot was off. He had some open looks, but they weren't falling. I just hope that this season he at least learns in year 4 when to take a step back, right? 18 shots is not ideal for someone who's shooting, 15% or whatever he shot. He was almost too aggressive. In the past, we've mentioned before that we like when RJ stays aggressive, but he's not 19 years old anymore, right? We know he's confident now. We know he's got that it factor. But, maybe in games where he's not hitting, he should be more of a decoy late in the game, like he did during that Fournier play. And I also think that will help him. It'll help him if he takes a step back. It'll help him improve his efficiency, because that's a problem for him. So tame yourself when you're a bit off. You just got to relax a little. And it's only fair I bring this up because if we so often get on Julius for this, we have to RJ as well, especially now that RJ is going to be making the big buck, right? That's going to change things. Expectations will start to rise now with RJ. No more treating him with kid gloves. This is his 4th season. He is 23, maybe. It's time to, treat him like a guy who's blossoming into a veteran. Not much from Obi Toppin in this game either. You know, when Julius fouled out, it was Cam Reddish who checked in. And I get that tonight. I keep saying tonight. Last night, I get that. You know, you needed more shooting. Obi did not play very well. He wasn't rebounding much. He missed some easy buckets at the rim. But all in all, I thought the Knicks, they played well last night. It was good to see them in a game against the Grizzlies, battling like they did. This is a 55-win team. I believe they made the Western Conference Finals, was it? In this game, again, it was in Memphis, Tennessee. So they can get loud too. I just think it came down to a few things, and we'll talk about it. But real quick, I want to head to break, and then we'll be right back. Stay with us. Be back in 1 sec. Hey guys, so if you are a listener of the podcast often, and you want to know where to find me on social media, you can find me on Facebook at BD4. You can find me on Twitter at BD4Pod. And you can also find me on Instagram at Rob J. Carbone. BD4 is located on many different platforms. You can listen to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, and if you do there, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review. You can listen to it on Spotify, but you can also watch the podcast on both Spotify and YouTube. BD4 is available on many other platforms as well. All you got to do is search it up. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and much more. Welcome back to BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to episode 421 of the podcast. Yeah, it just came down to a few things. Like we said, a lot of guys just being off last night. But there were some similar mistakes from last season as well regarding late game execution. So that's not great because that was one of my pet peeves last year. We kept just flopping in those high leverage spots. Turnovers, fouls, missing open shots. Rebounding hurt us last night. Memphis took that by 10, 64-54. Mitch Robinson only had 2. Toppin only had 3. So that's 2 of your big men right there combining for only 5 in 26 minutes. You know, the Grizzlies had Adams on the offensive glass eating. They had that kid from Villanova, Tillman, I think. Clark, Aldama. I mean, they were all doing their work on the glass. And you know, Memphis just has more depth with those guys. Not to mention Morant, who is a superstar in this game. Was it a goaltend? Was it a foul? I don't know. But the kid dropped 34 points, 9 assists, and he made it look average. You know, this is your MVP candidate this year. I'm telling you right now, guys. This kid's fucking special. As long as he's healthy, he's good. Desmond Bane, 16 points last night. Didn't even shoot well, but they got talent, and they're a little deeper than the Knicks. And there's a reason this team made the Western Conference Finals, and the Knicks didn't make the Eastern Conference Finals. They have depth, and they're well coached. Their coach is excellent. He's very well liked, and he's doing a hell of a job there since he's taken over recently. Tibbs was fine last night, too. I got no complaints on Thibodeau. He ran his usual tight rotation. I think 10 men played last night. Some heavy minutes to certain guys. But, again, this is with guys in foul trouble. This is with Quentin Grimes also out, which, man, Fournier. we missed Quentin Grimes' defense last night. If he was in that game, there's a chance the Knicks win that game. And there's a chance it doesn't even go to OT. That's how bad Fournier was in that second quarter. But all in all, let's try to leave this on a positive note. The Knicks, if they play like this all the time, if they play this hard against every team they play, then I think good things will happen. I think things will fall into place. They also need to play smarter, and that's going to be their big thing this season. So we do have to be careful with the whole moral victory thing because it's different. This team is spending now. They have some pieces, and they're expected to at least fringe compete for those playing spots. So it's tough to just sit here and accept losses as they come. As long as they play hard, I'm good. Like, I can't, at some point it's got to be go time. But it's opening night. I'm going to give them one. We'll see what happens the rest of the way. And yeah, I think those are just my brief thoughts. Quick one. It's opening night, so I'm not going to go too long. But yeah, I was fine with that game. I thought they played hard. They just need to play a little smarter, and hopefully more guys are clicking for game 2, which is on Friday. We're going to head to break. And then when we get back, we'll get to the question of the day to wrap it up. Stay with us. Be right there. We also have a website now for BD4. If you go to BD4blog.com, you can find the blog, the podcast links, and also where to find me on social media. Just go to BD4blog.com. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born. I just realized I spent all that fucking time with my mic on mute. I hope that it wasn't muted. Man, I hope that it wasn't muted when we just went over the question of the day. That would be a pain in the ass. If it was, I'll just read it real quick just to get it out of the way, so we can have one. The question of the day was, God, I hope it wasn't muted. Fuck. When the Knicks defeated the Celtics in their season opener last year, which phrase went viral in the streets of Manhattan? God, I'm going to have to edit that out because we talked for a good fucking 5 minutes plus, maybe even, with the mic on mute. Shit. That's it, though, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.